There's a bright golden haze o'er the meadow. There's a bright golden haze o'er the meadow. And the corn is as high as an elephant's eye. And it looks like it's climbing clean up through the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. I always wanted to play Curly from Oklahoma, but I never did. So, good morning, folks. Welcome. It's Sunday morning, and the sun's shining here. It's warm here, and it's a gorgeous day. And I hope you're having a good day where you are. I know this show reaches all around the world, so I know there's all different climates going on. But for the most part, it's nice out here. I hope it's nice where you are. And of course, this is not an official Intrepid radio program, as it's not being broadcast over on Odyssey Radio on Sunday mornings. This is just us. This is whoever wants to wander in here, whoever wants to talk, our regular Intrepid audience. So welcome here. And let's see. Just trying to still get my head on. So how is everybody? Coco, welcome. Susie Q, good to see you. Teresa, good to see you this morning. Rockin' Rhonda. And Rockin' Rhonda, thank you very much, by the way. I think that was you, Rhonda, who put a little donation in this week. We appreciate that. Matt Finn, good to see you, brother. And Leslie Hoker, same for you. Leslie, thank you as well. And Teresa, thank you. And I hope I'm not missing anybody who's put some donations in this week. I appreciate that. That always helps the cause over here. And so who else we got that I have not seen this morning? Chad Sanders and Field Guy. Good to see you. Didn't mean to lump you together. You know, you're not like a couple or anything. Twisted, good to see you this morning. And then as the numbers climb, we'll see some more people coming in. We've had 10 people in the last minute come in. So good morning, everybody who's here. Did I see Jack Parsons? No, I didn't. He's dead anyway. So something scrolled by and looked like that. So Sean Bowden, how you doing? Steph Cuervo Queen. Let's see. And let's see who else we got. Field Guy, women are allergic to you. I'm so sad for you. That's a sad state to be in. So KT Emma, how you doing? Lucky Stone, how are you doing this morning? And I'm just watching my chat room scroll by. I don't think I've missed anybody, any of the early risers, the early attendants here. I want to start by reading a little something I saw online today on social media. And it was something that was put up by our very own, in the chat room, Teresa Dantone. And I thought this was kind of profound because I have this little, if you see right here, this little book. You know, you get them for like $3, $4 at Barnes and Noble when you go to the store. And this is the little Sun Tzu's Art of War. And I picked that up as kind of a pocket thing. And every now and then it was laying on the floor here. One of the kids was messing with it. And I've had this thing for years. It's all beat up. And I picked it up and I saw a quote in there which made me think of what Teresa wrote this morning. And this is what it says. She started with, duality, yes, but essential mind is pure. Despite all appearances, no one is really evil. They are led astray by ignorance. If you ponder this truth always, you'll offer more light, rather than blame and condemnation. You, no less than all beings, have Buddha nature within you. Your essential mind is pure. Therefore, when defilements cause you to stumble and fall, let not remorse nor dark foreboding cast you down. Be of good cheer. And with this understanding, summon strength and walk on. Faith is like a lamp, and wisdom makes the flame burn bright. Carry this lamp always, and in good time the darkness will yield, and you will abide in the light. And that's by Dhammavadka. There you go. One of those Eastern names. Indian dot no feather. As Reuben Fastor's taught me a long time ago. He was talking about some philosopher, and he said he's an Indian, and he says Indian dot no feather. So that's something to really think about. That we essentially have been told in religious circles, especially the Orthodox literalist Christian church, that we all have a sin nature and that we are innately evil. Yet that contradicts what God said when he created us, according to the same book, that he created all things good. Now they fell, yes, there was the sin nature that came because of the choices that two people made at the very beginning, and suddenly we inherited that sin nature, that evil, and that graduated into there's absolutely nothing good about us. And I would disagree with that statement, that there's nothing good about us. We're not made of evil, although we can commit evil. We're good because we were created. We were created to be something good. And whether you believe in literalist creation, whether you believe in the originator, the creator, if it's somebody different than what you were taught in Sunday school and religious school, we were made, and we are all basically good because we were made to be that way. Now, if you take all of religion and spirituality out of that we are the product of chemical reactions in primordial slime that crawled up out of the slime and evolved into eventually what we have today. Take as early as Australopithecus all the way up to Cro-Magnon. And was it Neanderthal or Cro-Magnon was the last stage before what we have as modern humans on the evolutionary scale? I can't remember which one that was. I think it was Cro-Magnon came after Neanderthal. Well, if you believe all that we are all just chemical reactions, science hasn't proven that, by the way. Science has proven that they've found stages, what they have labeled stages of development in human ascendancy. Yet there is still the whole thing about the missing link. They keep saying, oh, we found the missing link here. Well, you find a single skeleton, single remains. How does that prove that we have a link between these different stages of development? Could it be that all those stages of development are representative of independent species, or knockoffs of species, or sidesteps of species, if you will? So I think, while, like I've said, like I put in one of my books, that quote by Henry Poincaré from 100 years ago, he said, the theory of evolution, he says, is what he was talking about, is like a pile of rocks. He says, it's like I have a pile of rocks. He says, but a pile of rocks is not a house without me constructing it. A pile of rocks is just a pile of rocks. And maybe the same thing with the ascendancy of man, of humans. It's a pile of rocks. It doesn't necessarily mean they make a house. And so you can look at it any way you want. I believe that we were created. Don't know necessarily the source of that creation on a personal, intimate level. So we have an originator. I think to say somebody brings it too local, colloquialized, provincial, that it's boom, it's right here, it's here and now. That's what Richard Feynman, astrophysicist, said. He says, for me to believe that the God of everything out there, of the whole universe, came here to this spot and visited us and did all these things for us on this planet, he says, seems too provincial too tiny for what's out there. And so I think, and we were taught in our circles that we are naturally sinful, that you need to accept Jesus into your heart to wash away all your sin. Maybe that's a corporate thing, and maybe that's true. You've got Catholicism that says you have to go to confession all the time to confess your sins, so you are not bound by the evil that is in you. So are men, humans, basically evil, or are they basically good? And you've got the exceptions of people that stand out, those who commit crimes, those who commit crimes against humanity. It's a big question. So do you consider yourself evil or good? Now, here's the fly in the ointment with all that. We can think whatever we want, but because we think that, does that make it so? Or is that just our point of view, our perspective? And I only throw that in there because we don't know that the literalist Orthodox Church is wrong in what they're teaching. We just know that isn't what the original Christians believed. It evolved into that. We don't know what the actual answer is. Is it Buddhism? Is it Confucianism? Is it, which I don't think is a philosophy of life after death and so on. It's a philosophy of life. Shintoism? Atheism? Catholicism? Whatever it might be. So, let's see, what do we got going on here? I see people talking over here. Greg Harrington, I've recently been subscribing to the thought that we're eternal light beings composed of energy, which of course can never be destroyed or created, yet only transformed, quantum entanglement, etc. Greg, you might be onto something there. To say that we are this eternal thing, this eternal being, and we've talked about this recently, both on my show and Rocky's show. Does that eternal being, as we've heard for many years, it's like in that pre-heaven, where all these beings are and they decide what kind of life they're going to live this time. And it's that reincarnation thing, the choice that's made there. And they come down and live this life, experience it, then go back up and say, okay, I've experienced that. Now let's live this one. And, I used to think about that going, that's interesting. There's no way to prove that's so. Proving that, making it evidentiary is the hard part. But let's say you accepted that. The question I had is then, who are you really? Am I in the afterlife? Am I Scott Roberts? Is Teresa Dantone? Is Greg? Is Steph? Is Susie Q? Are we the same people there? If we've lived a multiple lives, which one are we? Or we are an accumulation, amalgam of all of them. If that's so, then who are we really in the afterlife? When it's all said and done, and let's say you've accumulated 39 lives over the course of the millennium of mankind's existence. You are that soul, then, that's accumulated all of this information, all of this knowledge. That's why it prompted me to ask that question about Hitler. So is Hitler one of these guys? Does he go on? Did he get back to heaven and go, whew, glad that one's over. I'm going to do a new one. And this next time I'm going to be something else, someone else. Or are there evil souls that exist in that pre-incarnate state? And they continue doing evil. Are those that continue doing good? So I remember seeing a comic book, and it was one of those really adult, mature. I don't mean X-rated when I say that. I mean well-drawn comic books meant for a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? It appeared in Epic magazine, which has been defunct for 30 years. But in this, it showed a Western scenario, and the bad guy rancher who's shooting up the town and stealing everybody, and the hero comes along with the white hat and saves the day, but gets shot dead in the process, instead of riding off into the sunset. And at the end, it shows this cowboy character. He's walking in through the door and he's kind of holding his head. And he's been killed in the last scene. And he's holding his head, and it says, and somebody else, an old white beard man, says, "Welcome back, hero. Was it worse than last time?" And he says, they get harder and harder. And the understanding with that was the hero is the one who is replayed over and over again. He keeps going back into different lives, as does the villain, for the purpose of working with the humans that are there, providing them information. So I thought that was very interesting. That was an interesting concept. I picked up this little Sun Tzu's Art of War this morning. One of my kids had knocked it on the floor. I've had this thing for like 20 years. It's all beat up, you can see. And I just flipped it open, and it said, "In antiquity, those that excelled in warfare first made themselves unconquerable in order to await the moment when the enemy could be conquered. Being unconquerable lies with yourself. Being conquerable lies with the enemy. Thus, one who excels in warfare is able to make himself unconquerable, but cannot necessarily cause the enemy to be conquerable. Thus, it is said a strategy for conquering the enemy can be known, but yet not possible to implement. One who cannot be victorious assumes a defensive posture. One who can be victorious attacks. In these circumstances, by assuming a defensive posture, strength will be more than adequate. Whereas in offensive actions, it would be inadequate. And those who excel at defense bury themselves away below the lowest depths of earth. Those who excel at offense move from above the greatest heights of heaven. Thus they are able to persevere themselves and attain complete victory. Perceiving a victory that does not surpass what the masses could know is not the pinnacle of excellence. Wrestling victories for which all under heaven proclaim your excellence is not the pinnacle of excellence. Those that the ancients referred to as excelling at warfare conquered those who were easy to conquer. Their victories were not marked by fame for wisdom or courageous achievement, but were free from errors. One who is free from errors directs his measures toward certain victory, conquering those who are already defeated. Just words from a warrior, ancient Chinese warrior. And the first victory is self. Do you remember those of you who were present when we had Ruben Fasthorse on the other day on Rocky's show? He taught me this prayer a very long time ago, and I've heard him repeat it. He used to repeat it at his shows when he'd do his reenacting shows, and he gave us the prayer with the sign language, the Native American sign language, the other day. And one of the closing phrases of the prayer says, and help me defeat my greatest enemy, myself, so that when I come to you, I can come with clean hands and clear eyes. I don't remember the exact verbiage of the prayer, but there it is. Yeah, Matt, he was a fantastic guest. We'll have him on again. And Ruben and I go back about, and I mentioned it on Rocky's show, but we go back to about 1998 was when he and I first met. And so we're looking at about 22 years ago. And he was doing with his wife at the time, Ash, who was this beautiful, she looked very Native American, absolutely beautiful. She looked like the almost storybook paintings you see of Native American women. And she was, and it was funny, her mom was full-blooded German. Her dad was serving in the military in Germany, and they moved to Australia, where Ash was born. And so Ash was this beautiful Lakota woman. And her, wait, who was it? Was it her dad was Lakota? That's what it was, American Lakota. And so Ash grew up this Lakota woman with an Australian accent. And so it was kind of fun. And then we had Reuben, who grew up on the reservation over on Pine Ridge and Standing Rock. And so that's how I met him in 98. And he was quite the man. We always talked about Reuben as being a man who was so focused and so peaceful. And so he had found his center, and this is who he was. And like me and like everybody else, he's aging too. We're all putting on some years. But to have seen Reuben, 22 years ago, doing what he did, he had a very lean figure. He had the long, silky black hair going down his back. And when he dressed in the traditional clothing, like the leather breech clouts and leggings and the breech clout and feathers and certain beaded things that he would wear, he was the picture. And like I said, jokingly, tongue-in-cheek, he looked like he had ridden off the set of Dances with Wolves when I first met him. And so, that was Reuben. And of course, Reuben went, like many of us, he went through his hard days. He went through his dark night of the soul. And his days of despondency, his days of darkness. And he fell away for a long time. And he's back. And a few years ago, as we mentioned. So it was good to have him on. And Kay, that's thank you, by the way, but I'm glad you caught Reuben. And he's a good man. So he and I were talking about working on a book together. Almost 2 years ago now, we were talking about it, but I wanted to write a book on elementals and comparing like the Celtic fairies and folklore and the elementals to Native American elementals. And so we started talking about that. We haven't taken it anywhere yet. It's just in the talk stage. So I got 3 books ahead of it I'm trying to get done. So I'm going to be launching very quickly into trying to finish my novel, The 10 Breaths of Ra. I introduced that to you here months ago and had to set it all aside because I had huge projects in. And now I'm no longer in those huge projects, and I'm going to start getting back into doing some writing. So hopefully get that done soon. You take a sip of coffee. We had a rough night here last night. I still haven't heard anybody rise out of bed upstairs yet. I got up about 5 this morning, and the little girls had crawled into bed with us, and that's what woke me up. And I saw out the window, it was just starting to lighten outside. So I thought, okay, it's after 4 anyway. And so I got up and I came down and cleaned the kitchen from yesterday's disasters. And it's funny how a family of a mom and a dad and 3 little kids can use every dish and pot and pan in the house in a single day. So took care of that this morning, and I watched the sunrise and made coffee. And they're still not up yet. So I think it's because they had a rough night last night. The little one, the 5-year-old, I can tattle on her. If she was an adult, I can make this into a joke. But my 5-year-old, for some reason, felt it was going to be really fun to take a pair of scissors and cut the bed sheets on Mom and Dad's bed. And these were the new sheets that Rainey got. All of a sudden, I'm down here, and I hear Rainey yelling, which is pretty common. Kids, what are you doing now? And it's coming from upstairs off the balcony, which is in the kitchen. So I hear it bouncing around the kitchen. And I thought, oh, what's up? All of a sudden, like rats on a burning ship, all my kids come scampering kind of quietly down the stairs, and they filter to different places. The little one sits by me and takes a book, and the other one's behind the sofa doing her thing with her stuff. And my son, and I'm like, what just happened upstairs? And Rainey was saying, who cut my sheets with the scissors? Now, Flynn, my 10-year-old boy, you can pretty much knock him off of that list. He doesn't do that kind of stuff. He goes, wasn't me. And I go, you're safe, son. It's one of these two. And Rowan says, the 8-year-old, she says, not me. She says, I know better, in other words. And the little one, it's like, it wasn't me. And it's like, okay, nobody did it. The scissors got up there by themselves and cut holes, long slashes in the sheets. And then we found them in a couple of the pillowcases as well. A brand new set of king size. And by the way, if you don't go out buying king size sheets, it costs you about $75 to $80 to buy a decent set of sheets. Now, I like all cotton. I like 100% cotton sheets. I like a little higher thread count. You start getting into the Egyptian thread counts of, 5, 6, 700 thread count. And I don't like cheap sheets. I figure if I got to spend a third of my life sleeping on them, they better feel good. And so I like all cotton sheets. I could get polyester sheets for $9, but you wake up sweating, you slide off the bed in your sweat. The sheets, I don't like polyester. I hate polyester. So cotton sheets. So, we got a set of sheets on that bed that we bought probably a month ago. And so they've been on that bed only a couple of times as, you change the rotation. That's because all of our other sheets have shit on it. The kids draw with markers on the sheets, on the bed. What are you doing drawing with markers on the bed? And they get torn or, they're jumping on the bed and something happens to the sheet. So anyway, suffice it to say, we went out and splurged. We got a tax refund, our tax refund from the IRS. And we said, let's splurge and get some new sheets. So we bought, spent that inordinate amount of money, it seems, for decent sheets. And the child slashes them by cutting holes in them with the scissors. And so Rainey went, you think she's beautiful and cool and all of that? She is all those things. You don't want to see her when the old pre-scandal ridden Bill Cosby, one of his comic routines. He says, and my wife, he said, flames shot out of her eyes at my children. He says, her face split open and a flaming skull came out and said, homemade chocolate cake for those children for breakfast. And so, this was my wife, the lovely, vivacious, beautiful, intelligent Rainey. She threw quite the fit last night. The fit of rage, I should say. Who cut my sheets? And so all these kids were downstairs all of a sudden, about 10 seconds ahead of Rainey, trying to find a hiding spot. So it came down to Ellery. And we knew it was Ellery. We knew it wasn't the other two. It's getting them to fess up. What are you doing cutting holes in the sheets? Go tell mom. You go apologize to mom for cutting into the sheets. I didn't do it. Swat, back of my hand on the butt. Go talk to your mom. I'm done with the lying. I'm done with and it's like this all the time. Children, you know how it is. I mean, it's a cliche amongst kids. You ask your 3 kids who did this, and I didn't. Wasn't me. Okay, it was the ghost in the house. He was the nobody. Oh, mom and dad did that. Mom and dad drew bunny rabbits on the walls with marker. So, yeah, Ellie got in trouble, and she so wanted to cuddle with mom and dad in the bed. Nope. Tonight, you stay in your room. We do not. They didn't come into the room, like I said, until about 4 this morning, 4:30-ish, before they came very stealthily crawling in. And crawled in and then cuddled up and all that. And then it's all over by then. So there was a little crisis at bedtime last night. Flynn, he's cool. He didn't do anything and he knew it. So Twisted was the scapegoat. Were you a middle child or something? So I was the middle child. So I wasn't the princess and I wasn't the prince. I was in between. So, yeah, I don't see Mr. Nobody hanging around here, says Leslie, her dad said. And so it was a little tense evening at the end of the evening last night. So I think that's why, all of that to say, I think that's why they're all sleeping in up there. So everybody was up a little late, and everybody, holes in the sheet, big flippin' deal. It's a sheet. It's a piece of fabric. Got a hole in it. Kid might have, she said, well, maybe I was cutting something and I accidentally cut through the sheet. Well, that would be, we look at each other, Rainey and I, and it's kind of like, that's plausible. Except then we found it over there on the pillowcase and over there. And it's like, there was just this, I don't know what it is, why kids do that. I had the top bunk in my bedroom that I shared with my brother when I was a little kid. And I was laying on the top bunk once and I had a hanger, old wire hangers. This is pre-plastic hanger days. That's how old I am. And, you'd twist them out and you could poke things with them and all that. And I was laying on the top of my bed and I was watching TV and I'm just taking that hanger and I'm thwapping it on the ceiling, which was kind of a fiberboard, dropped squares ceiling, but made out of that fibrous material, whatever it is. And I poked like 300 holes all across my ceiling tiles above my bed and didn't think a thing of it. I go whap, 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 whap. And, not long after, I got in big trouble. Poked holes in the top of, and of course my brother doesn't sleep up there. I did. So I got in trouble. So kids, you got to chalk it up to they're being kids, they're doing stuff. But sometimes there has to be those consequences for, I'm sorry, nobody set the boundaries ahead of time and said, now, you see these beautiful sheets? Don't take the scissors and cut them. But we have all kinds of other things we teach our kids that should be a common sense thing, even for a 5-year-old. And you don't cut up clothing, you don't cut up sheets. And so while she got a couple little swats on the butt from me, the worst thing for her was sequestration in her room all night. She tried a couple of times to get up and crawl in with it. Nope. I said, back to bed. So, mean, evil, cruel dad. And then, of course, she'd stomp down the hall. I hate you, Dad. I said, yeah, okay. I said, thank you. Good night. I said, have fun hating me in your room tonight. And and of course, she doesn't hate me. So there you go. Yeah, maybe she'll be a designer of clothing, KTM says. So, yeah, don't cut up the sheets. Where's that on the rules list? I didn't see the rules say that, Dad. So, new sheets. Audrey says, PayPal me, Scotty Roberts. So, yeah, please donate to our sheet fund. My 3 starving children. So, yeah, it was an interesting evening. And, that was yesterday. Now it's a new day. It's gorgeous out again today. It's going to be nice and warm. Maybe for some of you where you're from, 70 degrees isn't as warm as it can get. And it gets hot here. Don't get me wrong. Leslie, you're in my area. You live an hour from here. And so, In the summertime, you can get up into the low 100s with like 98 point dew points and 98% humidity and dew points, and it gets damn oppressive. It would be damn near subtropical here in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We'd have crocodiles and alligators, rattlesnakes, and palm trees if it weren't for the fact that we have winter that cuts that all off once a year. So we have this great flipping of the seasons. But the neat thing about it is we have great transitional seasons. We got spring and autumn up here is astounding. Leslie, I'll ask you point blank. Have you ever been to Lake Superior during peak fall color seasons, like the first to second week of October? Absolutely gorgeous. If you go up to Lake Superior, they call it the North Shore. It'd be the northwest shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota. It's about 2 hours from here to get to Duluth, which is the big harbor right at the tip of Lake Superior. But you drive up that North Shore another 2 hours. You're up in the Gooseberry Falls Split Rock Lighthouse, which you've all seen in pictures somewhere, I'm sure. The ubiquitous Split Rock Lighthouse, meaning it's just everywhere. And so it's gorgeous up there. And one of your favorite places to go between hunting seasons. You know what I like about being up north at the lake? You go up to Lake Superior. And maybe Leslie, you can attest to this, or anybody that's from around these parts. There's a cacophony of scents and smells in the air. You get the lake, which is an inland sea, really, is what it is, a freshwater sea. And sometimes you get breakers on the shore of Lake Superior that are like being on the ocean on the East Coast or the West Coast. Amazing breakers of the waves on the rocks and the cliffs there. But you go inland, you've got the forests in northern Minnesota, and you get the smell of pine mixed with the smell of goldenrod, with the smell of all these different kinds of mixed with the lake effect. And the smell in the air up there is different. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. It's tranquil. And just watch out for the bears so they don't eat you. Greg says Bayfield, Wisconsin. Yeah, and Madeline Island on Lake Superior. Yes. Beautiful in the fall as well. Worth the trip, definitely. And so, folks, if you've never been to Minnesota, you're looking for a great, short vacation to go somewhere. Plan something for the fall, but you got to plan it like last winter, because all the hotels and the beds and breakfasts and all of that stuff totally books up by the beginning of summer. Right now, if I wanted to get a hotel or a bed and breakfast up in the they call it the Arrowhead, the North Shore, it would be almost impossible. They're probably all booked up for this year already. So I don't know what got me on that. Lake Superior, but it's gorgeous up there. And so there you go. That's all I got this morning. So you know what I'm going to do now? We'll do a couple of readings. And, I hate to say it, Sunday mornings are started becoming for me. I'm so busy during the week, I tend to get a little worn out by Sunday morning. And so I'm not doing a ton of them today. But if you haven't had a reading yet, raise your hand and I can do a couple of them today. And keep in mind as well that I do tarot readings. In part, it's one of the many different things that falls under the umbrella of what Scotty does for a living. I'm primarily a writer, an illustrator, a designer. Been doing those things for 40 years. That's my mainstay. Advertising, marketing, all of that stuff. I do the radio, which you know what that pays. I do the tarot readings. I do the t-shirt designs, and all these things that I do on the side are all just little things we do to keep little bits and pieces rolling into the coffers. So if you want a full reading, a 5-card or a 10-card reading, just go on over to my website, scottallenroberts.com, and click on the tarot link. And there's 2 PayPal buttons there. Just click on which one you want. And it'll send me a message with your information, and we'll connect and set up a time and get your reading done. So there you go. Greg, you've never had one. Did you want one right now? Greg for a read. Let's start off with Greg. And Greg, I usually would do 1 card readings, and I thought, let's go ahead and do 3 card readings for Sunday mornings because gives a little bit more information. A 1 card is pretty general. And let me give an example of that. I'm going to shuffle the cards, and I'm going to do a 1 card reading just for myself today before I start Greg's. And so I like to shuffle. It just gives energies a chance to reshuffle the deck. So you got to figure if there's something out there that created all of this from nothing, does that great something out there have the ability to rearrange a deck to give a message, a vague message about something for somebody? So if I were to draw a card for myself right now, just a single card, this is how I do that. Boom. I pull this card. Oh, it's the Death card is what I got today. Oh my God. Should I be worried? It's the Death card. Now, does death actually stand for physical death? I should be fearing dying right now. No. The Death card, if I drew this for myself for this morning, this is a card that says transition. That's what the Death card means in the tarot. It's transitioning from one thing to another thing. It's the end of something, starting up with the newness of something new. And it's like a finality to something. The Death card, it's indicative of change in the future. It's a change that can be in almost any aspect of your life, but it's going to be certain to be permanent, significant, absolute. Death suggests a complete severance between the past and the future. And it's most likely going to be something that's painful. Now, despite the sense of loss that may accompany it, death fills an important and natural role in life. And it leads eventually to acceptance. It's a necessary part of moving forward. And you're going to find the changes easiest if you embrace them rather than fight them. You expect the end of a close friendship, a job, a marriage, or even a life. But you don't focus too greatly on the negative part. So all the Death card means is that something big is coming that's going to be change. So for me, there is some change that's coming. It doesn't say calamitous change. It just means deep change, maybe hurtful change. Maybe it's going to have to do with the status of my work, the status of my money, the status of my house, my health, my marriage, whatever it might be. Death can indicate those things. And it's simply a card that says you're moving into a new phase of life. Now, you could look at, and you could put a positive spin on this. Say it might be death to isolation, death to, if you've been fumbling around in life, or if things aren't going so well, or money is bad, maybe it's a death to the old and a birth to the new. All death means is a transition from the old to the new. And it's of permanent nature, meaning it's like a big, definite change. A major event is approaching, and it's going to arrive suddenly. You're going to lose something valuable to you. It's a move forward. It develops new perspective on the world. The past is behind you. And the rest of your life is still ahead of you. So you have to continue the journey with all your heart. So the Death card shows dramatic change. In order to have a new beginning, you can't have the new beginning without the shedding of the old. And so that's all the Death card stands for. The overall tone is dark. It's not good. It's not positive. It's not pleasing. This means something's coming to an end that might hurt a little bit. So it'll be interesting for me to see what this is. So you talk about things that you get in the tarot that might be a little revealing. There you go. Death to the freaking masks, says True Divine. Absolutely. Yeoman, good to see you here. How you doing? So, Baroness, good to see you this morning. If there's any of you that have slipped in here and I haven't seen you yet. Mary Mansfield, nice to see you this morning. And anybody else slip in that I should say a quick hello to that I may have missed you as I was talking away? I don't think so. If you have, I missed you and I'm sorry. But there we go. All right. Let's go on to Greg Harrington's reading. Greg, I'm going to shuffle for you 3 times, and we're going to see what lies ahead for you. Now, look, if I can read a card for myself and it's negative, and there can still be a positive spin on it, don't worry too much. If I pull a dark card for myself, I'm being honest with you about what the cards say. So we'll see how that manifests. I'll let you know. Hopefully nothing too major. All right, Greg, I've shuffled for you. If you were here, I'd have you cut the deck. So I'm going to cut that on your behalf. Boom. There we go. All restacked. All right. Greg, front and center. Card of your current circumstances is the Queen of Swords. That's the current. That's where you are right now. Card of your recent past is Temperance. And the card of the near future is the Six of Coins. Now, the card of your current, the Queen of Swords, I've always looked at her. Look at the picture on here that they use on this particular deck. It's a little hard to see. It gets washed out in my bright light, studio light up there. But she is the queen. She's dressed in black. She's holding the sword of power and authority. Now, swords is the suit of conflict. Conflict you give, conflict you get. It also signifies power and authority and what you're holding on to. When I see that card, the Queen of Swords, it talks about, now usually the royal face cards in a deck, kings and queens, stand for specific men or women in your life. Or conversely, it can represent energy that you are manifesting in your life right now. And so a male can exhibit the traits of one of these queens. A woman can exhibit the traits of some of the kings in the deck. And so this is what I've always said about this card. The Queen of Swords is the queen who rules alone. She's the one who holds, she represents many times in the deck. It was a widow, somebody who has lost somebody that is close to them. Somebody who may not have been the king, but was the queen and now rules as the queen because she's alone. And so it's indicative of change in your future. Change can be almost any aspect of your life. But this is who this is what the queen shows. And when she's the widow, it means she's lost something to gain the power and to have the transition that she's in now. She represents very perceptive individual, sharp-witted, professionally distant, maybe. You're going to find her either coming to your aid right now. This is somebody that so influences who you are right now. This woman on the outside, that she's affecting your current. Your current is epitomized by this woman almost coming to the rescue in a way. The queen coming and bestowing gifts on you to make sure that you are going to make it, coming to your counsel. She could be a teacher. She could be an investor. She could be a female, or it could be your energy that's coming out in her, that you are this person right now. Whichever, if it's somebody on the outside, she's a powerful ally. And respect her intelligence, respect what she brings to the table for you. And you're going to get really peerless guidance out of this person. So doesn't have to necessarily be a female either, but more than likely is the idea with this. Now, more of the energy with this card is that your strict idealization of perfection might be causing you stress or pain. You have things that the way things are supposed to be done this way, and they're just not working that way. Maybe it's a result of this pandemic and the whole sequestration thing. But by continuing to uphold this ideal, you might make it impossible to achieve that ideal. And so expect counsel from a sharp-witted elder who might very well be a woman. And it's possible to maintain your independence with accepting this help and advice from friends. And don't focus so much on your goals right now. Kind of let those go. Set them aside a little bit. As that might constrict your ability to achieve those goals. Like if you're trying to achieve a goal from within the kind of state we're all in this country right now, might not be achievable at the moment. So rely on your strong spirit to illuminate whatever that bigger picture is for you. And so the Queen of Swords is analytical, independent problem solver. She brings her mental clarity, alacrity, or an end to something troubling in your life, but not without a painful loss or separation. And so she's stoic. She's astute. She doesn't give anything away as a positive or a negative outcome. So this is somebody that I get this strong feeling that it's you who needs to take on these qualities, but there may be somebody on the external that's affecting you right now in your current. Now, if we were doing a full, like a 10-card spread, more of the cards would illuminate this for us. But so this is where there's some generalities here. Your recent past is Temperance. This is the energy that's brought you to where you are right now. Now, doesn't mean it's ended. It just might be picking up on the other end. So it's going to be here now, and you're going to see it again. And Temperance, it shows a woman sitting here, and she's pouring water between two vessels, like a pitcher to a goblet and back and forth. And the idea of water in the tarot is emotion. So she's finding a way to pour the water of emotion from one place to another place and back again, keeping the balance, not spilling a drop. And so the idea with the Temperance card is that first of all, it's a very optimistic card. Temperance encourages you to find your balance. Now that's going to modify that Queen at the beginning, because this is what's already happened. This is the past telling you got to find some balance. Greg, look for balance. Look for temperance. Find balance in your life and your life and your approach to problems, and but with a calm demeanor about you. You know what you're doing. It recognizes the opposing forces, the pouring from the two different pitchers back and forth that don't have to be at war inside you. These opposing things. And by opposing, I'm talking about things like on this hand, you've got family. This is job or career. And you're trying to keep those balanced. Think of the opposites in your life. And the way to keep those things balanced. This is saying this is what you're entering, or you have entered into already. And you have to tread carefully in any major decisions you're making, because confidence that good decisions will lead you to good resolutions is what you need to keep active right now. And the experiences that you've had learning to work in harmony with other people, be they family members, be they work-related people, whatever it might be, that's going to keep being an ongoing trend. Learning to work in harmony, balancing the material and the psychic elements in your life. And that's going to influence you right now. And something you've long desired, that you've really pushed, that you've spent yourself, invested yourself in, is going to come to fruition. It's the idea with this card. So expect a wealthy partnership, marriage, things that develop your inner social circle. These are the energies that have been going on. Something good. But it's led you to that Queen who rules alone. This could be the new partner. This could be the investor the person who advises you, it could be you as well. So you are the one who now needs to take control with temperance, with balance. Practice moderation. Be thinking. Stay in balance. And you're going to resolve conflicts. You're going to begin a new chapter. When you've got the queen who rules alone as your current, she's the one who usually represents the widower, or the widow, the one who's lost something and is now ruling alone. So this is what temperance is leading you into, that, saying this is where you're going to be now. And so temperance really talks about divine intervention coming down for you, balance, harmony. And it's really an overall positive experience with this card, with temperance. And this is what's led you into the Queen of Swords. So now this is a little darker, but that's why I tend to think this could be somebody from the outside that's affecting you. But it could also be the loss of somebody, and you are the one that's left alone to reign by yourself, so to speak. And I look at that, and it ties into the Six of Coins, which is your outcome. This is a card that says coins is material well-being. It's something that says you are being increased to the point where you're not forgetting those who are in need. You see in this card, it's got all these hands coming out to the person who has lost somebody. It's like an inheritance again. And that's twice now. In this little reading, there's something about inheritance or losing and gaining as a result of it. But the hands are out, and they're not people going, gimme, 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 because you got. It's you saying, I've got, so stick your hand out so I can put a coin in it. So it's the idea of some kind of gain is coming to you in the near future as the outcome of this. And that gain is something where those around you benefit from it because you allow them to be benefited from it. You are the one that's saying, open your hand, let me put the coin in. So there you go. I hope that's meaningful for you, Greg. Again, 3-card reading, so it gives you a peek into what's going on. You've got to apply some balance, some temperance. You've got somebody from the outside that's either helping, or you are the person who has benefited from. You're the ruler of things now, so to speak, because you've lost somebody or something, and there's a financial reward that's tied into it. So I hope that means something for you. And there's other esoteric meanings in all of this stuff too. And again, a bigger spread, we'd be able to pull out more information on that. So just want to see how people are, who all's coming into the group here today. Who we got? We got, let's see, who all, anybody new, step in. Katie O. Froman. Good to see you. And welcome. And there you go. Darth Samuel Nagayan. Good to see you, Darth. Rockin' Rhonda. Good to see you as well. Well, thank you, Rhonda. All right. And Twisted, good to see you. Oh, I think I saw you earlier, but there we go. All right. So there we go. Let's do one more reading. Who else would like a reading today? Somebody that hasn't had one before and you've been holding back. If you want to get one, speak up now. You can see it's a little, readings like this are a bit, we say, positively intrusive. If you can deal with being intruded on spiritually or metaphysically, it can be a little revealing. So, Twisted, I see you there. Let's do Twisted. I don't think I've ever done Twisted before. Let's do a reading for you. All right, I'm going to shuffle up for Twisted. Here we go. All right. Once, just rearranging the cards. That's all we're doing. Twice. One more. 3 times a shuffle. Oh, that was a bad one. Maybe because I sang in the middle of it. All right, Twisted, if you were here, I'd have you cut the deck. Let me do that now. Well, my cards are getting marked. I've used these cards for about 11 years, this deck. And they're getting all the... I have things like this. If you look at this real close, see all those edges? When I'm shuffling and I see that and I see that corner and that, I almost know what card that is. So I have to almost blot that out of my head. And if I know what the card is, sometimes I restack it a little bit when we're shuffling. So, all right, Twisted, here we go. Here's your current, the Hierophant. Here's your recent past, the High Priestess. They're 2 good cards together. And here's your outcome, the Chariot. All right, you got 3 cards right here from the Major Arcana. This is almost, and remember, the Tarot is divided into 5 sections, if you will. The Major Arcana, and then the 4 subsuits that are like a playing deck. You know, you've got the diamonds, the hearts, the clubs, the spades. Here you've got the swords, the coins, or pentacles, the wands, and the cups. And so right now, when you get 3 or more cards in a major reading, like a 10-card reading, 3 or more cards from one single suit can lean the whole overall meaning of that reading in the direction of the meaning of that suit. And Major Arcana, now you've got all cards in this little mini reading from the Major Arcana would tell me that, first of all, it's almost like God snapping his fingers in your face and saying, hey, Twisted, wake up. I got a message for you here. All right. So, hey, Barry, good to have you in here. So, the Hierophant. This is your first card. And this is the card of your current circumstances, your current situation. I wish the light didn't glare on those quite as much. There you go. Maybe if I hold it really close. Well, the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant is... This is the need to have good advice from somebody to talk to you, or it's you being the Hierophant to yourself, somebody who is advising yourself. And the thing is, the Hierophant, they've got the guy on the card with the, like the Pope's mitre on his head and stuff like that. It's supposed to indicate somebody in a spiritual sense or a psychological sense or a professional sense that brings professional learning to the table. This is somebody who knows what they're talking about, who knows what they're doing. Somebody who can advise you because they know what to tell you. They've been there. They've counseled other people before. In a sense, it's like a professional counselor, professional shaman, priest, pastor, teacher, counselor, things like that. And so, depending on your own nature, the Hierophant can be very different things to you. At its root, it kind of represents doctrine, dogma, the hardcore stuff that can come in the form of teaching and guidance or rigid authority. Hence the view of the look at the kind of very hardcore, what's the word I'm looking for? The orthodoxy of teaching and doctrine. And this can also be more indicative of your own approach to things. Do you look to other people for advice, or do you believe that you are a person or have the personality type that is somebody who can advise themselves? You can look at things and you can know. You can consider things from a wise point of view. And it shows the path to fulfilling what this card is all about. So there's value in ambition from your past, but you have to look to a strength that you might have neglected. is the idea with this. That sounds very cliche, but there might be something you've overlooked and you need either the good counsel of somebody else to help you work through that, or you can look to yourself and say, aha, this is what this is. I need to expand this. I need to be the Hierophant to myself. I need to advise myself on this thing. You can look to the support of someone else. But this card is suggesting make sure it's somebody who's a little staid and tried and true in what they do. They know what they're talking about. The card is really a symbol of education, traditional practice, but it suggests seeking out good spiritual counsel, guidance, advice. It can also indicate conformity and religious approval or spiritual approval. Well, spirituality, let me amend that, because spirituality doesn't require approval, but religion does. So it's not a positive or negative card. It's just a neutral card that says it's good to get advice. You might need to adhere to certain traditional precepts of how things should be done, either spiritually, religiously, or otherwise. And you can do that for yourself. You need to seek out good counsel or take the time necessary to make yourself the good counselor to yourself. Research something out, study it, make sure you know what you're talking about. That's the position you're in. But your recent past is the High Priestess card, which is the highest form of intuitive wisdom, insight, understanding that's in the deck. This is your recent past, saying your life has been epitomized by being the high priest or having the knowledge of the high priest. The high priest is one who, she's holding a bunch of books and scrolls on the card. She uncovers the hidden meanings, the hidden messages, insight, intuition, inherent good judgment in the form of this very strong intuition. She indicates that reason should take second place to your instinct. And I'm looking at this Hierophant. Hierophant is reason, because it's tradition, it's dogma, and all of those things. But before that, the energy that's leading you into seeking out that good advice is one that almost says, don't adhere to reason, adhere to instinct. Your head has to trust in the wisdom of your heart. Is what this card says. Intuition. It could be somebody close to you that does this. It could be somebody close to you that has their own intuition, that maybe they're the ones that are the counselor for you because they have intuition. In some cases, the high priestess, now I'm not suggesting, I don't know what your situation is, but in some cases, this uncovering can be the uncovering of hidden knowledge. Not just the hidden knowledge, like esoteric knowledge for you, but the hidden knowledge of something's being kept from you, almost a negative. And you need to seek that out. You need to see what that is. You need to open your eyes. Many times this card stood for adultery and disloyalty, because it could have that, it could be that effect that something's being hidden from you and you need to uncover it. Now, I'm not suggesting there's something being uncovered. I look at the card of your near future, the Chariot, which says you need to use diplomacy. You're guiding the team to go where you want to go. You need to be the boss, so to speak, and have the reins. And so, as a foundation in your recent past, you've got undiscovered or repressed creative abilities, intuitive abilities, that are really screaming and demanding to be heard and expressed. And so finding a spiritual guide is going to help you realize that full potential. And that's where the Hierophant comes in. Find the spiritual guide to help increase that potential. Somebody who can help you increase your intuition. You have to overcome your fear of commitment as well. This is a card that says uncover that and seek out good advice or advise yourself on how to overcome any fear you might have to step into something and be committed to it. And of course, the Chariot, or I always call it the Chariot driver, is somebody that your character's been tested. You have to protect your own instincts, your own ego, and the struggle has kind of strengthened you. And the events around you have given you this ability to accomplish your victories. And the good news is coming, is the idea. And you're going to, let's see how to say this. You're going to better the adversaries and come forward and defeat them by expanding your intuition, by seeking out the good advice that you need, by being more than you already are. Continue your struggle, and the end you're seeking is going to be achievable. It's honor, it's acclaim, it's recognition. The Chariot driver is always the one who can lead the horse to water, make it drink, and make it think it was its idea to take the drink. So it's diplomacy and all of those things. So there. It's the energy I'm seeing. Increasing a bit in intuition. Seek out good advice about this. Be the advisor to yourself. Be the Chariot driver. Be the one incorporating decisiveness, incorporating diplomacy, good thinking skills, wisdom, reason, intuition. So there you go, Twisted. Hope that was meaningful. Hope that meant something to you. Hope that expressed what's going on in your head right now and in your life. So there you go. All right. That's it. I'm not going to do any more readings today. Meatball, Rocky's in the room. Good to see you, Rocky, wherever you are. So, folks, I think it's 10:12. We're going to call it kind of an early quits today. I appreciate your being here. And this week, 9 p.m., every night this week, we've got the Situation Room, the Intrepid radio program right here. You can find it here on this channel. 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. I do a show with Rocky all week long. Rocky, if you're in the room and you hear this, are we going at 11 a.m. this week, or are we going at 7 p.m. this week? So Rocky will announce that and let us all know. We kind of go back and forth a little bit on the time of the live broadcast, but whatever happens, if it's 11 a.m. Central or 7 p.m. Central that we go live, the show always airs at 11 p.m. Central Time, midnight Eastern. So there you go. Roger Rabbit, I see you there. I didn't see you earlier. Welcome. And that's all I got for today. And so you guys have a good day. If it's nice where you are, like it is here, have a good day outside. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. And that's all I got. That's all I got to say. Boy, a long ending. I can't think of how to wrap it up in a good knot other than thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.